Welcome for a virtual tour of the home that I have for sale. My name is Duke. I'm the property owner, and I'm going to be giving you a virtual tour. Matt, my good friend and realtor, is the one that's going to be filming for us. So we're starting off at the South Fork subdivision, which is where the home is for sale on 2.53 acres. This is Curtis Road that we're on now. And actually over to the right, you see the big arena in the middle of the pasture with the big brown barn there. That's actually a view of the back of the property from Curtis Road here. Just up ahead is the Falcon Highway. So we're at the crossroads of Curtis Road and Falcon Highway, which for the buyer means very convenient to all the amenities. Walmart is maybe 6 minutes away, along with different restaurants, tire repair to hardware, and a King Soopers. And we are quickly approaching John Ross Court. What I loved about this property when we acquired it was that it was acreage on a paved road, and we have a couple of horses. So we wanted to utilize this property to have neighbors that were like-minded. So we're the second house on the right, just off of the corner, and you can see the house there off to your right as we approach. And it's all completely fenced so that it keeps in all kinds of animals and keeps out some. Here's the security gate. It is a remote controlled electric gate that allows us in. You can see up ahead of the driveway there, the two-car garage, and to the left, the addition that we call an annex, but you'll be able to see that soon, in a yard off to the left that's quite large. This is a pie-shaped property. Like I said, 2.53 acres. Most of the housing is at the front of the pie, or the whitest part of the pie, so that you utilize the back part of the property for the horses or whatever animals you may have. And here you can see is just one of the entrances to the back of the property where the barn and the greenhouse is. Here's a two-car attached carport as well. And as we drive up to the home, here we are with the planters and the frontage and all that. So here's our storm door. It's open right now, but it's that kind that has the glass top and bottom of the screen. So let's go inside and have a look. This is a security entry, so you have to punch in a code to get in, or it is keyed if an emergency. And here's our storm door. It's a nice wide entrance with a couple of decorative shelves to set stuff. And I'm going to give you two parts of the house just kind of broken into two. To the right, I'm going to say is the main house. So let's take a look at that first. Here we have immediately to your right is the dining area. Now keep in mind too, this has all hardwood floors that are just in beautiful condition, as well as the entire house has been repainted. Most of the rooms have new baseboard, and most of the rooms have new carpet. So here's the chandelier for the dining room area. As we approach this wide area here, this is the kitchen. Over to your left is what we used as a coffee bar to not clutter the main counters of the kitchen. So we put the microwave there, extra cupboards, and of course storage from under there. Now let me mention right now, under there is a water shutoff and on-off that's normally used for an ice maker, but it's built into the wall and it goes to the swamp cooler. So let's just take a couple of steps back here. What this home is equipped with is a swamp cooler, which means that water is cooled and forced down into the house. We find that is much better than air conditioning. AC seems to dry out our throats a bit. The moisture that comes from the swamp cooler eliminates all of that and has these many benefits, and it cools our whole house very nicely. So here again, as we go to the kitchen, here's one of those pot hangers my wife had to have. It works very well. Then, like I mentioned, there's the coffee bar, your kitchen with the gas stove, a newer dishwasher, and then you see that little black faucet there to the right. That is filtered water from under the sink that will last about 5 years. I used to build them. So that's a dandy addition to it as well. Your typical faucet here with the extension that comes out. And immediately off to the kitchen here to the left is the pantry area, as you can see. Lots of cupboards, lots of cupboard space. The island, there's tons of cupboard space. We'll look at that in a minute. In here is what we call our boot room or laundry room. The almost brand new Electrolux washer and dryer do not fit where we're going, so that goes with the house. And there's storage underneath and storage up above. This behind this panel here is the hot water tank that's only a few years old, which is why we have the receipt hanging here. This is the gas furnace, changed all of the screens regularly. This works well. And then we have a utility sink so that you can wash up those grubby hands when you come in from the back, as well as the toilet back here, which is that kind of that emergency toilet when you're outside, you need to come in and use the bathroom and you don't want to take off your boots. Okay? So as we move this way in the home, as I was mentioning, the Highland full of cupboards, and it has a plug on this end, so it has 110 power as well. Very convenient. This is what we call our living room. Now, before it really begins, here's the fridge over the left. We found this to be a much more convenient place for a refrigerator. It's pulled out a little bit right now, but this is almost brand new. There's the paperwork on it. It's the huge bottom tray and the inside, outside, or inside huge. Very nice. Also does not fit in the place we're going, so this goes with the house as well, and it was not inexpensive. Here is the gas fireplace. It's so nice in the winter. Fire that thing up. We don't go through any wood, and it heats this whole area. Ceiling fans, well lighted. Then we go here to the sliding glass doors. This is a unique feature I really liked was the shades that would raise and lower, and you could adjust how they let light in. So depending on the time of day, these sometimes are really convenient. So let's take a look outside there later. Let's go to this end of the house. As you recall, we turned right when we came through the entry. The door's kind of like in the middle of the house. So we get an idea of what all this is. Let's go this way here. Also, this is what we'll call the guest closet for hanging coats and so forth and putting different things in. This is the entry into what I'll call the master bedroom. Of course, all the rooms have ceiling fans and lights, great circulation. It's one of the rooms that has the huge walk-in closet with all that extra space. There's 2 windows in here. They're screened. It's beautiful. So you get lots of light in here as well as great circulation. As we go to the left here, this is the opening into the bathroom. And this is a tiled bathroom with a very large corner tub, huge mirrors around, and this big window here lets in all kinds of natural light. And then, of course, you have the dual sinks for mom and dad, husband, wife, as well as, again, another toilet with the shelf for all kinds of storage for toilet paper, so forth. And then there's the shower with the detachable wand. And if we open these doors just this way here, you can see there's an access panel for the plumbing there at the shower, which is very convenient. There's the heater vent, so there's lots of room in here to have cabinets or whatever you want. As we go this direction, now let's go look at the other half of the place. The first thing you see as we turn left is not a hallway, but an open area here that is what you could call a multi-purpose room. Using your imagination, a refrigerator, counter, all the cupboards. It's like a mini wet bar sort of thing in here, or a coffee bar for whatever you'd want to have this to be, where you do your studies or so forth here. Again, 2 big windows with the screen, so lots of light in this house. As we go here to the bedrooms of this 4-bedroom house, here's the other full bath. This is new tile floor that's down here, a newer upgraded toilet, and of course the shower with the glass doors, the wand, everything recently upgraded, painted, and recaulked. So this thing's ready to go as well. It's got a chandelier type light in here because my daughter used it and needed a lot of light to put on her makeup. Imagine that, huh? So this first room to the left, these are all standard size bedrooms. This one is used as an office. Great view of the front. You can see anybody coming and going from this room here. And it's got a pretty standard closet that I used. because men don't have nearly as many clothes as women. And I use this for my office area, and we have used it for a bedroom guest room in the past as well. Once again, all new paint, new baseboards, new carpet, new padding, all of that. We go to the room right next to me. First thing you may notice is a cat door built in at the bottom of the door, a really nice one. My daughter did have a cat, and she stayed in here. And new carpet, new padding, all that. She had me put in a shelf to set up plants so they could get a lot of light. This is also a walk-in closet with lots of room and lots of light. So a lot of possibilities with that as well. And yes, a great view out back of everything, including Pikes Peak. Then across from this bedroom is another multi-purpose room that we've used as a craft room. It's decorated the way that it is in the color and the lacy because it was mainly a girl's room and then a woman's room for a while as a guest. And as same as a couple of other rooms, huge walk-in closet. So all kinds of space. These shelvings up here we left because our last use was that of a sewing type craft room. As all the kids moved out, we move into retirement. That's why we're selling the house. Anyway, once again, another view of the back. This one is a particularly good view of the arena where we could watch my wife working the horses, and my daughter could as well. And of course, Pikes Peak. So that's this end of the house. I also love the way the heat registers are located throughout this house. It distributes the heat really, really well, and it holds the heat amazingly well, which also means in the summertime, we would close everything up pretty much and draw on all the curtains and turn on our swamp cooler, which I'll tell you a little bit about. It has 2 speeds, and unlike air conditioning, which tends to dry you out, the swamp cooler will cool this whole house, but it has a moisture content, which the ladies like, and it's very, very comfortable. It is plumbed by a water source under here, and you can see the tube. It's all inside the wall, very well done. It's got a low speed and a high speed. We love it. So as I said, there's not a better tour than that from the owner. I'm excited to show you what's out back. So let's go ahead and go out the sliding glass door rather than the moving door. The sliding glass door, by the way, is only a couple of years old. So it's got a really nice screen and all of that. And you can see here is a nearly 20-foot by 50-foot covered area for entertaining or just enjoying and being out of the weather in the weather. You can see we put the lighting up here. So it's very nice to sit out here because the sun sets right there where Pikes Peak is. And depending on the time of the year, this is Hallmark stuff, folks, that you see. It's just beautiful here. So here's the backyard area. We've left this kind of up to the imagination of the next owner, but leaving the planters, so you can do what you wish with there. Immediately following that, that's kind of fenced off. That section there really is the drain field where you're not supposed to have horses or whatever on it, and we, of course, have horses. We'll be showing you the barn here in a few minutes. Out here, too, one of the amenities is a clothesline that is the coated cable all the way down. My wife loved to hang out the towels and stuff on this clothesline from and let it dry naturally in the wonderful Colorado heat air. So as we go this way, this here is the control panel for the solar, which represents about 60% of the roof of this house. The idea is we had it made in such a way that we didn't want to like sell energy back to the company. We didn't want the battery back. We just wanted when the sun was out to offset our expenses, so all we had was service expenses each month. And by and large, with some exception in the winter, that's how it's worked out. So our electric bill is very, very low. I will point out while we're here right now, this little box on the ground, what that is there is the main water to the house comes in this area under there, and plumbed into that is where the water goes to the barn. So if there was ever an emergency where you needed to shut off all the water to the barn, there's an access valve under there that's heavily insulated. Kind of an extra cool safety feature. The other thing is this here that you see hanging. This plugs in to a generator. I had a 7,500 watt generator here. This is, of course, if you have the power outage. It's wired into, as you can see, the main panel. And this main panel feeds two ways. You can see the pipes going out of here. One, of course, coming in, but one feeds the barn and one feeds the garage, and one goes inside and feeds a 200 amp panel inside the house. So that's why this one is the way it is. This is laid out the way it is. Very well done. You will also notice a larger dog door. We did have a large dog for a time, so we put in a really sweet, heavily insulated, real nice dog door. And so, of course, that's there whether the guy has a dog or not. There's water supply at the back of the house there. This is the cover that is accessed for under the house. And it's lighted. There's a light switch there. The entire underside of the house, what they call the crawl space, is covered in visqueen according to code. Now, they call it a crawl space, but I've been under there and I can sit cross-legged under there without bumping my head. So it's a little bit larger than your normal crawl space, but and this is a concrete foundation that this roofing material and this board sits on. So as we go this way, there's access here through this gate to the front of the yard. Large door here to the access to the addition in the back of the garage. So let's go there first. This door I made extra wide for carrying armloads of things into it. We utilized this room for having a couple of freezers and extra fridge for having food when we could buy it in bulk and save some money. So you can see, and I added the roof lighting so you didn't have to turn on a light every time you came in here. Another unique aspect of this part of the addition of the garage is this little door here, which I have open. But when it's closed, you hardly know it's there. And this is an addition for the hot tub. This is a door that you drop down. You can see it's operated by a pulley and ropes. But when you're in the hot tub, you have an unobstructed view of Pikes Peak. And it's just a beautiful view when you're waking up in the morning. This is a smaller 5x7 3-person tub, they call it. But for one person, it is the hip right there. So, and of course, I have it all in plastic corrugated so that it lets in the maximum amount of light. And this is a beautiful place to be first thing in the morning. Okay, so as we move this way into the mini garage, this has an electric garage door, so I'll go ahead and open that up. Found the most unique and attractive thing about this 2-car garage here is that heater. It's a 30,000 BTU natural gas heater with a thermostat on the wall over there. So even though the garage is not insulated, I can tell you that you get out here, you turn that thing on for about 10 or 15 minutes and you're in your t-shirt. It's wonderful in the wintertime. This is the 100 amp panel right now. This is the 50 amp breaker for the hot tub. I got it off right now, of course. And then here's the folder shop here, all the warranty stuff, because that's also fairly new. Okay. Then I have this little side door here because you may recall when we drove up, off to the left of the garage was this, what I call an annex. Well, if I have the heater going in here and I need something in that annex, which I did use it for storage for different things, I didn't want to lose all my heat or walk all the way around. So we put in an access door here, and these panels pop right out actually because it's called a screen door in the summertime. But this gives me access to where I would keep building materials, different things on that shelf. Had my riding mower in here, my skid steer in here. Believe it or not, my full-size Dodge truck clears that and will fit in here easily. So this became a multi-purpose. I hung my ladders out here on these big nails and things like that. So this was, I could put my car in here if there was going to be a hailstorm. You just ended up, and this thing is almost 35 feet deep by itself. You have your standard garage, that's the 20 by 30, I think it is. So with the additions, it becomes much, much larger. Okay, so we're back at the patio here. Now we're going to go to the right, out the back door. And this is where you see the 2-car carport here. We also have the fire pit. we're allowed to do that, and we have a little campfire from time to time with a couple of camp chairs and roast the marshmallows sort of thing. Right around the corner here on this side, you'll see this box right there. This is the box for the RV hookup. There's actually, you can hook up 2 RVs in this box, but this is the mini one. This was an extra accessory one. And I put in this gate here, and I could park my RV right along here, a good 30-footer, and it was just a great place to plug in and be protected. Okay. So as we go through here, we should mention too, there is gates everywhere. This one's lax closed, but when the wind is coming here and we want to have some company out here, just say here, we just close that. It's a big old blockade, works really well. This also is another gate. We walk through pretty much right there, but once again, we want to run the mower back here, or I want to bring my pickup truck back or whatever. That's what this gate is for here. So you can see off the left, that's the property. As it narrows down, the white gate gives you the idea of the boundary just before Curtis Road. This area here is really what you call your paddock area, where the horses would culminate out of their stalls mainly. And then there's a very large 60-foot galvanized round pen that we use so that the horse owners know exactly what that can be used for, but it has multi-purposes. Farther out, you may see some logs out there in the field. That actually is a construct that makes up a rectangle that we would use as an outside arena, once again, to work the horses. So as we go this way, let's first walk through the main door, but hold off right there for a minute, Matt. I want folks to see when this door is closed, then there is a access walk-through door so that you can still get into the barn. But we're going to close that for right now and open it. Here we go. Both the big barn doors are on these huge rollers. There's lots of the plastic panels because we wanted to have as much natural lighting as we can. This aisle here is 14 feet wide and then 24 feet or 2 12-foot stall deep on both sides. This is where we had the 2 horses, downsizing from 3. Over to the right is where we kept our hay and so forth. Here's another unique thing about that people are going to love. I hated it, Matt, when pipes would break and freeze in barns. So we have a watering system that is a no-freeze system. It's actually pretty simple. This is the main on-off. This is a drain valve, but when you turn this water on, you turn this valve like this, and it fills up a pipe that goes up to the peak, comes back down, and there was a water trough over on that end, as you can see the white pipe on the wall. Once we filled the water trough, then all we did was left this water supply open, shut off the main supply, and open this up like it is here, and the water from the top would drain down, so there was no water in the pipe to freeze. Same thing would happen on the other side, so we never had a freezing problem. Additionally, we added to it what we'll talk about here shortly. Overhead, you'll see another pipe with the same idea. It's got its own shut off there, but it's at a slight angle down into what we call our fodder room or grow room, and so it also will never freeze. Both the mats, all 3 of these stalls actually, got the heavy mat still in it for the horse lovers. It's got the gravel box that's supposed to help condition their feet. And then these doors all you close. And they've got a latch right here. That's when it is really wintry or the wind is really blowing, we'll go ahead and put the horses in and close these doors, and they're completely insulated, completely comfortable that way. We added this too. We're leaving this. That's one of those big old car wash brushes, Matt. And I'll tell you what, you can see from the brown fur on it, them horses love to scratch their tails on that thing. When I say their tails, their butts, you know. Anyway, very generous room in through here. Now, this is the entry to what my wife used as a fodder room, which is a special kind of growth for horses. However, It is so heavily insulated. This is like opening up a freezer door, as you can see. Okay. Notice too, these two openings here, those are fans. I'll get to that in a minute. So this was a wonderful storage area, a lot of preparation for what we did in here. Here's the light switch for this. This, as you can tell just walking in, obvious temperature difference, but the viewer can't tell that. But anyway, this is a fodder setup for growing. So this is a grow room. Here's the water that comes in right here, like I told you about with the faucet. Okay. There's a drainage system out the back of this wall for whatever you water in here. And you'll see out the back of the barn that. These fans are air in, air out fans. So you take the covers off like that to allow them access. And then when you turn them on from out there, one comes on one direction, one comes on. So it pushes or pulls the air. And then here draws air from the adjacent room, which we'll get to in a minute, which is where we've kept all of our canned food and all of the dried, freeze-dried stuff and things like that, because that has an air conditioner in there. So from time to time, we'd flip this on and pull air in here just to cool down this room. And of course, you have a temperature gauge on the wall. So this is a multi-purpose room. You can see here, there's a picture of what it is that we did here, which is what they called Fodder King. Multiple uses, of course. So let's move on out of there, head up over here. This is where we stored all of our hay. This is what we call the cellar, as you can see. Another heavily insulated room. Light here. This room is about 22, 23 feet deep, and every bed of 12 feet. The aisle is probably a good 8 or 9 feet, I forget. There's the other light there for there. So you see the air conditioner. You can also tell maybe in the recording how my voice is coming across because of the change of the room. This has got 4 to 6 inch insulation, ceiling, walls, everything. So this is a completely climate controlled room where we stored food that we were prepping for future use. Okay. Now, of course, it can be used for a lot of different things, but that's what we used it for when we had it. And these shelves, of course, here are all canned goods, things of that nature. We kept a lot of stuff on these. Very heavily built, well done room. Shut off the light there. Now, while we're here in the barn, let's just go out the back of the barn. Again, nice big sliding door. Plenty of light it lets in. There's a bunch of gravel here. There's a drainage system here for the rains to come here to go into a tile that goes about 100 feet out there. Just saying. Then this here is an outside growing garden. Let's come down to this end, Matt, to start. Because this is where the little gate is. And this is access to some of the largest weeds you will see in Colorado about this time of year. However, you can see it's got a watering system. So a guy does have to get active in pulling up some of the weeds, but this was a huge advent for my wife as she grew a bunch of stuff through here, all outside. And so you can see the path here. It just needs a little TLC for all of this. Now this is behind the barn, and you'll see kind of where we're at because you'll see the back of that air conditioner we saw in the food storage room. That white pipe on the ground is that drainage system I was talking about, the fodder room. This we kind of just kept for hay and different stuff. Needed a place for that junk, those weeds, what have you. And then we recycled all of the horse manure here throughout the property and then would rake it in. So that's why you don't see horse manure on the property. But there's another view of the property in the back here where the horses go in and out, their little corral area. And of course, Pikes Peak. Along with the other amenities of this barn, there is the 100 amp panel in here with 2 plugs. There's a 30 amp plug right there for something heavy. And you can see in here too, this one big one here, this 30 amp, is the one that goes out here and feeds that RV plug-in. So that's how that works there. And then a very sturdy workbench for doing those sorts of things you need to do. So now let's go around the barn here, and what we did with this end of the barn is we screened it all in with that clear plastic, and my wife turned it into this glorious greenhouse to die for. Off to the left there too, you see there's the water that's plumbed in. So with two spigots, we talked about that. No freeze, comes from in there and powers everything up here. This hose here is actually a water supply out to that outside garden. So the new owner, it's very easy to see when you pull the weeds and you can see it. Here is the end all to be all for the people that grow, a raised garden bed. And this garden bed here is almost 20 feet long. It's 3 feet deep, and it's almost 4 feet wide, as you can see. So this is excellent for growing. And of course, you can see just in the video the light that's coming through from so there's no problem with getting light or water in here. It grows like mad. This is a corner area that we just use for utility, stacking stuff, and so forth. Now, this little door, you may have noticed when we went through the barn, that my wife is about 5 feet tall. She just wanted some kind of a pass-through when she was in here to get into the barn, so she didn't have to walk all the way around. So this is her little pin. Pull this pin, and she would just set this off to the side, and she could go into the barn. So there was always an aisle between the hay right here, Matt, where she could do that. And this is why it's so nice to have the tour by the owner, because there's these little things that you wonder, what do they got that for? Who put that in, or how does that work? And we're not even completely done yet, but that's really the overview of the barn, the greenhouse, the grow room, or whatever you want to call it. And then there's this open area. Now, we have these sheets of metal up here just as a windbreak, because my wife had all along this whole fence line here those big black pots, and she was just a growing fool. She grew everything. So that's what that was all about. We never did gate this because we used this spot to park our horse trailers, so it blocked it in case the horses were to get out of the fenced area into here, for example. Otherwise, there's the two other 12-foot gates that have all the access. And I will mention once again, if a person has dogs and wants to keep them in, this fencing is growing into the ground, and all out at that front fence of all the treated roundwood, that fencing goes down, it hits the ground, and then comes in about 16 to 18 inches. The grass is growing over it, so very, very secure if you got a little dog or large dog you don't want to get out. Now, as you can see from this view, there's the swamp cooler there, dead center. The house was built and equipped with the swamp cooler. And then you can see the solar panels there. You can see a little bit on the left, and there's a little bit in the back. Again, the goal of the solar panels was to come up with enough with the maximum sunlight exposure, the way our house is mounted. And so they laid all that, did all those mathematics, so we get the maximum amount of advantage from the solar panels. We hardly have an electric bill. And that's pretty good. And the natural gas, that's the most efficient way, I think, to heat a house and to enjoy a fireplace. There's no doubt there. So it's very efficiently oriented, insulated very well. Everything is all set to go. This is like buying a place that eats nothing. You just move in and start using it. Amen.
And enjoying your horses.
And enjoying horses or whatever. There's families that their little girls want to go through 4-H in a bad way, so maybe a couple ponies, right?
Well, thank you so much for the homeowner tour. All the details are there. 5856 John Ross Court. Set up your showing today.